And then I was like, I'm just gonna trade it and see where it goes. And within a week, I turned that $6 into $500. And I was looking at it at that time. I was like, this shit might actually be like something in the future. And then the months go by and it's the standard thing. You might think, yo, you're on a high, you deposit like some money, and then you try to trade and see if you can replicate it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're interviewing another funded trader today. And how do you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
It's Maz.
Maz. Okay, Maz. So just give us a brief rundown. How long you've been trading? How'd you get into trading? And where you from? So yeah, just brief background, or what do you do?
So basically, I've been trading for like 5 years now. I got into trading because of a friend of mine. We were in like a group chat and he just showed like a screenshot of like a MT5. And he was like, this is what he made like today. I was like, I messaged him privately. I was like, yo, bro, what is this? And like he explained how it was to me. I looked it up. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. And 5 years on, I'm here. Like
Wow. Okay.
pretty much just like I'm still learning basically, but
There is no such thing as no learning. I'm still learning. Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett is still learning. Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
not learning, more of adjustments. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because markets do not stay completely constant. They don't repeat it themselves. They rhyme.
that's true.
Right. So kind of like you got to dance with the waves. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
yeah, and all right, so 5 years is a long time already. Is it your full time? Do you have, like, a lot of people do hybrid model? They have a job and then they also trade, or do you do this now for completely full time? Or
At the moment, I'm just like working full time and I just do trading like as something on the side. I do have an aim to do this full time, but it's just all in due time. I'm not trying to rush it. I just want to just take my time, get myself in the groove of things. And then when I just feel confident, I'm like, okay, I'm just take that jump and go full time.
yeah, see, that comes from 5 years of being beaten by the fucking markets. So
True.
the self-awareness that you have to take time, you have to stay calm, disciplined, and not rush the process. Where, like, everybody starts pretty much the same way. I started because I grew up in New York City, and it's either you become a doctor, an accountant, or a lawyer. And I didn't like the law, so that was out the window. I didn't have the memory to memorize the all the Latin bullshit for being a
Yeah.
doctor. Plus, I didn't want to stay there for 27 billion years. So Wall Street was the only option. With money, it was appealing to a 18, 20-year-old kid, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with a lot of people. They see, the screenshots of profits to be made, and we get sucked in the beginning that way, and then obviously we find out it's not as easy as it looks. Just because that person made whatever 10,000, 100,000, $10 million that day, there's a lot of days that were painful days, and they were losing money, and they were not doing so hot, right? So
Yeah, they pretty much just see like the results, but they don't see like everything that happens in the background.
correct,
So
yeah.
that's pretty much why a lot of people like get into the space. It's like they just see all the results, but they don't understand what work gets put into it to get
Yeah.
to that point that they're at. So that's why a lot of people just quit and say, oh well, this doesn't work for me. But they don't understand that this takes a lot of patience, a lot of work, a lot of studying. So for me, the way I see it is like I don't want to rush to get to, let's say, trying to make like a lot of money in a month or so. The process is just basically like just start small and then just go from there. Like
Yeah.
pretty much. Just
I
start
mean,
small and then just scale up.
I think it's because you have 5 years under your belt that you actually understand the process. Because most people, they think that within 6 months you're going to be making millions of dollars and be on an easy street, which is far from truth. So the approach that actually works is you develop your system, you get profitable, and then you scale. And if you look at your life as not, I need a Lambo next month, but I'm going to be on this planet Earth for, well, let's say 100 years or 80 years, and you're like in your 20s or 30s, dedicating 5 years plus, or a decade even, to then have the Lambos and the planes and everything is not it obviously it takes a lot of tenacity and being disciplined, but it's not that long. What I mean? It's
Yeah.
and again, you already have an income. We actually we talked to a lot of people who have this hybrid model, well, hybrid model, where they have a job and then they offset their income, supplemental income, with trading. And I think it takes a lot of pressure off as well when you don't have to pay your rent, your car, whatever, your expenses, just to have the roof over your head with profit money, right? Because if you only have to be trading and you still don't have enough capital in your bank account, because again, 50K or 100K in reality of things in a brokerage account is not going to afford you. You have a one bad month, and then you have, let's say, $5,000 worth of expenses per month. Now you have $95,000 to trade, and then if
Yeah,
you have
that's
a
true.
few losing streaks in a row, so a few shitty months, then you start, okay, just to again, the next month is coming, the rents are due or whatever the payments, and most people start then over leveraging, and then they blow up. That 100K turns it to 5K.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah.
That's pretty much why a lot of people like struggle and fail in this industry, is because they put a lot of belief into thinking that, oh yeah, I have this account on I have this trading account with like 50K or 100K. So I know I can get through this. But they have to understand that they're not going to win every single month. There's going to be days where you lose a lot of trades, even when you think your strategy is top tier. There's going to be a lot of months where you might think, okay, this is a problem now. Like, how am I going to get through this? So that's why I think having a job as like the main source of income at the start it takes a lot of pressure off you to try to get profitable on the side with trading, so that when you do build up that confidence, that profitability, that routine, and then you scale up with the trading, and then at some point you make a lot more than what you make in like your main job, then you might say, okay, I will try this full time and see how it goes, and then you can just scale up from there.
Absolutely, and that's how pros approach it. I remember when I got my first gig at a fund, the owner of the fund, he hired his own daughter. She was a lawyer in her previous life, and then he hired her, and she was getting a salary. And I was a young kid. I was like, "Why is she getting a salary?" He explained to me, because if she doesn't get a salary, and she was already in her 40s, late 30s, whatever. To me, she was an old lady when I was, you're 20 years
Yeah.
old. You don't know. She was an old lady. So I didn't understand that concept, but that's he said, because if she's going to be trading with scared money, basically, she will not. She's not going to be winning, right? So
Yeah.
so how long did it take you to, obviously we all start with the demo, then we put some money, we'll lose some money, up and down, up and down. How long did it take you to become profitable, or, break even, then profitable? How did your journey look like?
As you know, it started off like 5 years ago when my friend just showed me like that screenshot. And then the year, it was like 2020, like February. That was like when COVID strike.
Yeah, yeah.
And people were just like losing their jobs. And it was like a struggle.
Right.
So I was like at work at the time. I was doing just like a small job. And then I had like $6 in an account, pretty
Yeah, yeah.
standard. I wasn't trading like the normal forex. I was trading like a binary,
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah.
what
Up and
what it was
down
called
stuff.
back then. And then I was like, I'm just gonna trade it and see where it goes. And within a week, I turned that $6 into $500, and I was looking at it at that time. I was like, this shit might actually be like something in the future. And then the months go by, and it's the standard thing. You might think, yo, you're on a high, you deposit like some money, and then you try to trade and see if you can replicate it. Just blow accounts back after back after back. And it was like, I actually need to slow down a bit and try to learn how to do this thing properly and see where I can take this. So I just then went on YouTube and started looking up like how to trade, like looking up different systems. And I found one strategy where someone was using it. And I looked at it and I was thinking, this might actually simplify things a lot for me. And I went into like the prop firm. Like I started prop firms like back in 2021, 2022.
Wow, early,
That
yeah.
was like when my Forex funds and all those
Yeah.
prop firms were active. and I bought like an account with them. Like I was trying to trade with them, but nothing was actually working. And throughout like a couple of months, I was like buying a lot of accounts and blowing a lot
Mm,
of accounts. I was like, I need to slow down with this because at some point I was like spending pretty much thousands of dollars buying accounts in like a month. So I was like, I need to slow this down and like try to minimize what I was how I'm gonna approach this. So at that point, I was like, I'm gonna start small, try and buy like a $5,000 account. And then I did that. I passed both phases and I got to the live account. And then I was pretty much like $250 up on that account. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until payout date and try to pull that out the account. At that point, I was on vacation back in my homeland in Jamaica. And at the day of the payout, I somehow blew the account. I don't know how and I don't know why, but I look back at that point and I was like, I actually need to tone things down a bit. And then obviously the my Forex funds fiasco happened, and the funded traders fiasco also happened. So I was like scrambling to find a prop firm that could actually fit my style of trading. And then I found FundingTraders, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this and see where it takes me. So then I bought like a 50K account back in May, blew that account, and then I bought another 50K and then passed both phases. So I was like, okay, I was on that live account, and then
mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna just approach this like very simply, just try to make a couple of cuts because you guys have this consistency score rule where
Yeah.
you have to make like go below 25%. So my thought process is whatever I make on day one, I'm just gonna say, okay, I made X amount on day one. I'm gonna try and make this amount over like the course of 4 or 5 trading days. And then it came to day five, and I was up, I don't know the percent, but I think I was up like $3,000 on that 50K account. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stop right there and I'm just going to wait for the payout date. And the payout date came and it was like 12 a.m. at my time. So in Germany, it's like 12 a.m. For the US, it's like 5 p.m. or so
Yeah.
or something like that. And then I went to request a payout. It said I couldn't request a payout because it was too early. So I went into Discord and messaged support and I was like, what do I do? And then they said just wait until like the New York session, so you can like request a payout. For me, it was like 2 p.m.
Okay.
So I requested that payout. It got approved, and a couple of days later, got a payout my crypto account, and that was good.
Even the better feeling is when you stack them up several in a row, because then we can actually put a lot real money behind you. And because it's no secret, a lot of people just get paid once and then never again, or they start YOLOing because they get lucky. Let's put it that way. So we
Mm.
want to see at least 3 payouts before we obviously you get the payouts, but we're going to start putting copycat accounts between. And so we actually look forward to people being successful, because now once you get the first payout, that's when the things start getting interesting. Because can I do it again? Can I do it again? Nobody's profitable every single moment and every single month, but as long as there is a growth path, right? That's the most
Yeah.
important thing. What kind of strategy? You mentioned that you found a strategy that kind of clicked with you, and I call them bread and butter things. Like you spend years, and then finally something clicks. And so was that the case for you, or how did it work out? What do you
Yeah,
use now, so to speak? You, like, maybe just brief description of, are you using like a 5-minute chart, a 4-hour chart, or some kind of technical analysis or smart money concepts?
so I pretty much like I'm a scalper basically.
Hmm.
So what I try to find like a strategy that like has like a good entry model where I can make a good amount of pips on a good movement, and then I could like try to do maybe a certain amount of risk per trade. So what I trade is supply and demand, and I learned that off of a YouTuber, and I saw how he like entered the trades on it. I was like, I'm gonna try and see how that works. So what I did, I tested it out on demo for a couple of months before, and I saw that it was working for me. And then at some point, I would deposit like $100 of my own money into a small account, and I was like, I'm gonna see where that takes me. And then with that same strategy, I turned that $100 into like $500, and I was like, this strategy might actually work for me because it's so simple yet so effective that once you learn it and refine it to your trading style, it can be a lot profitable for someone like me or anyone else that like uses this trading model, and they can make a lot of profits.
Right.
And I just integrated that into my trading style, and it's been just up ever since.
Nice. Well, and how long did it take? How many years would you say till you actually found the supply demand? Did it, a year, 6 months, 2 years, or I know you've
Thing
tried a
is,
lot of stuff, but
yeah, I tried a lot of strategies, and it probably was like 2 years ago, maybe under 2 years since I found that strategy, and I was like applying it to my trading. And since then, it's been good. Trading's been simpler. I know what I'm looking for when I'm going into a trade, depending on an indicator or so or whatever
right.
extra things. It's just literally like how the markets move and how the strategy just plays along with it.
Price action.
Just yeah, it just makes everything just simpler.
I do now. We started a limited series of morning webinars, and that's exactly what I was talking about. That usually, people expect the stuff to click, 3 months, 1 month, for a couple of weeks, but it's in reality, it takes about 1 to 3 years, maybe 6 months if get lucky. But usually, it's 1 to 2 years is where you've experimenting so much. You need to learn first of all the ABCs, right? And then once you
Yeah.
learn the ABCs, you try this, you try that, you try that, and it takes the time to trial and error to see what works and what doesn't. And usually about year 1 or 2, you start finding stuff that actually resonates with you properly, and you start applying it, and that's when the actual positive feedback loop starts, and you start seeing that stuff is applicable, and you have certain criteria for entries, not just willy-nilly, just because it's 9 a.m. in the morning on the Monday doesn't mean you have to start doing something. If there is no setup or whatever, right, then there is no
Right.
reason to enter, because if the market is not at the levels where you should be trading, then you shouldn't be trading,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So just because it's 9 a.m. Yeah. All right. Well, and if you could pass like one advice, you've been around the block 5 years, because a lot of people started in the 2020s, with crypto specifically, and they
Yeah.
transferred to FX and free futures, etc. But if the guys who are now finishing high schools and colleges, and they're like, I don't want to, if they're just getting into the stuff, how would you cut your learning curve? Not learning curve, like mistakes you've made. What kind of advice would you give the younger generation, so to speak, to as from your experience?
I mean, I would say don't go into it expecting that you will see results pretty much instantly. It will take a while to like get into it. And it's another one of those things where YouTube is pretty much there. Like the information is just freely posted on YouTube. Just learn from that and then try to find a strategy that suits you as a person and how you trade, and then take it slowly. Like try it on demo first and just build consistency for like a couple of months, maybe 3 or 6 months, and then you try on like a smaller prop firm account, like a $5,000 or 10K account. Just go for like the 100Ks or
Right.
200Ks off the rip, because you might try that and then you will lose, and then you ask the question like, what am I doing wrong? Whereas if you go with like a smaller account, you just trial and error, and you're pretty much not losing a lot in the process. And then once you find that consistency, then you can scale up from that 5K or 10K account to like the 50Ks, the 100Ks, the 200Ks. And another thing I want to add as well is don't go into trading with the mindset of I will have this by this point in time. So don't go into it thinking I will make 10K a month in 6 months. Go into trading with the first step being I want to see if I can make more than what I would actually make if I was working like a normal 9 to 5. So for instance, if you're earning like 2,000 a month, see if you can match that on trading while having the job on the side.
Right.
So that when you can do that, you might think, okay, once I have that, can I scale that up to make a lot more than what I earn
Yeah, 5x, 10x,
normally?
whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you're confident in doing that, then you can ask the question, do I want to do this full time? Do I trust myself to do this over the course of like a year, 2 years, 5, 10 years? So pretty much just start small and then work your way up. That's pretty much how we all started. That's pretty much how the best trader in the world started. They just started small and then just scaled up from there.
Exactly. And having the patience, and this, this is a brilliant advice. And it's just having realistic expectations with patience and not rushing the things. And that's when you get to the land of milk and honey. So
Yeah.
yeah, on that note, I thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing your advices, your
Thanks for
story.
having me. Yeah.
Hopefully in 6 months, we'll do a follow-up interview with a lot more payouts, and you can share some war stories with us one more time.
Yeah, we can
Till
do
next
that.
time. Cheers.
Thank you.